The news that you have been waiting for some time has arrived. Arsenal, yes, Arsenal, that club that never buys players, has put in an offer. Yes, an offer for Mikel Merino. We're going to talk about that and plenty more in today's show in the Arsenal Transfer Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show, joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well on what is a very bright, as you can see, morning here in the UK. I should tell you from the off that this is going to be a condensed show. I am off to the office for the first time in quite some time actually today, and this evening we've got a media five-a-side tournament as well, which means that it's an opportunity to showcase how poor I am once again at football. But it should hopefully be a lot of fun, and I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back onto the pitch and playing some proper football. But yes, it was going to be a shorter show. But what we're going to do is at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you some information about where you can continue to get your Arsenal fix. And we're going to try and do our first ever TGT raid. But more on that shortly. Right, let's jump into the chat box, shall we? Good morning to Gooner76, Jitty, Lee, Sablu, Bosbula, Arasilki, Wilson, Cam. We've got Paul, Steve, Jakob, Black Shine, Tabani, Barry, Jean, Shari, Zukakoivu, NSW, Shanor, Vivian, Mark, Errol, Josh, and plenty more of you guys and girls too. Thank you as always for tuning in. Please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. Right, let's jump into today's stories, shall we, before we go to a very quick part two. Jurrien Timber, you'll be very pleased to learn, has indeed returned to Arsenal training. He was expected to return very soon, as I reported last week, around the 6th of August. And I'm very pleased to show you that he has indeed now returned to Arsenal training and, you know, could be in the squad, it seems, to the Wolves game on Saturday. So that's really, really good news indeed. Really looking forward to seeing him back on the pitch and what indeed he provides to the team and to the defence. And who knows where else he's going to be featuring this season, because there's a lot of competition for places when it comes to the Arsenal team. So I'm very much, yes, looking forward to seeing Jurrien Timber back in an Arsenal shirt. Meanwhile, according to Shropshire Star, Shrewsbury are interested in signing Charles Sago Jr. on loan until the end of the season. Of course, he spent last season, the second half of last season, on loan with Swansea. Didn't really play too many games at all in the Championship, similar to Charlie Patino. The change of management at the Welsh club meant that, yeah, there just really wasn't many opportunities whatsoever. Played just 2 Championship games, believe it or not, during that time. There, he wasn't in the squad at all for, you know, the last, I think it was something like 11 games in the Championship, wasn't even in the team. So it was not a successful loan move at all. He played 25 minutes just over and needs to find a club where he is going to play a lot more regularly than he did last season. So hopefully that happens this year. Meanwhile, it is expected that should Ramsdale leave Arsenal, Arsenal will indeed target Espanyol's and Spain international for the Olympic Games, Joan Garcia, who is a very exciting young 23-year-old goalkeeper. It's expected that he's got a release clause of around 20 to 25 million pounds, and that Arsenal would be looking to activate that, you'd imagine, because Espanyol would not be wanting to sell, but they would be looking to activate that release clause to try and bring in a competitive option to David Raya ahead of the new season, with Ramsdale potentially still leaving. We still haven't got too many informations or, you know, guidance, if you will, on where Ramsdale might end up. We know that there is supposed interest from some Premier League teams, such as Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, have supposed interest in him, but so far no real movement at all on that front. But should Ramsdale go, that will then see Arsenal then move into a different position, a different profile, and Garcia appears to be very much that player. And the big story that is going to take up the predominant part of the show, and I imagine mainly your questions, is Mikel Merino, as has always been the case for the last however many years, it feels like. But Arsenal have reportedly made a €25 million offer for the Spain international after Lengthy talks, of course, no issues on the personal side of things, but a £21.5 million move has been made for Mikel Merino. However, the Spanish club are looking for closer to 35 million euros, which is around 30 million pounds. And Arsenal really would like to get the player done and through the door for a fee that they believe is more representative of the player's value, of the player's quality, and where he's at in the market, which is with a year left on his contract. There isn't a real desperation, from Arsenal to overpay for a player, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't be looking to overpay for players at all. Arsenal should be looking to try and do business on their terms, both with incomings and outgoings, and that is what they've looked to do. However, what is interesting is that David Ornstein reported yesterday that I think caught the eye of a lot of fans that Arsenal may want to move a player on before they sign the Spanish midfielder. Now, the player that we all know that is most likely to leave Arsenal this summer at the moment is Eddie Nketiah. And this indication that Eddie Nketiah would need to move on, or anybody else would need to move on, has obviously created a bit of a question mark from supporters about where Arsenal's finances are and about financially whether or not they're secure enough to just do deals that they want to do. Now, I'm very confident in telling you that Arsenal are very compliant and comfortable with financial fair play and with profit and sustainability at the moment. Maybe if they went out and signed another £100 million player, they might have some issues, especially if they don't sell anybody. But at the moment, they are very comfortable. So why then are they not comfortable entirely in signing Merino without having first moved a player on or got some good money in for a player? Well, the reason behind this is actually quite simple. Whilst what I said previously on Nketiah still stands certainly true, in that if Arsenal were dead set on wanting that dream forward or a dream midfielder, of which Mikel Merino, for all of his qualities, is not that guy. He's just a very good option in the window and a good opportunity in the market for a decent price. If there was a player that Arsenal genuinely wanted, like they did with Benjamin Sesko at the beginning of the window, they would move regardless of who they had sold. But sadly, this market has not presented itself as being one that has offered those types of players. Sadly, it's just the reality of the summer that we found ourselves in. And what Arsenal are looking to do here is to effectively potentially have a neutral summer, whereby all the money that they spend is offset by sales that they make. And by doing that, what Arsenal can do and still add quality into the team in the form of Calafiori and, of course, in the form of Mikel Merino, is improve their starting 11 while at the same time selling the depth surplus in their squad, so that when you move into a new summer window next year in 2025, Arsenal will be very well placed when it comes to moving for some really big targets, potentially dream targets, the likes of Alexander Isak, etc. You'd hope that those types of deals would be very much within Arsenal's reach by having more of a neutral summer. Now, people will say Arsenal need to sign a striker, and if they don't sign a striker, they're not going to win the league. This isn't true. Arsenal can win the league this season with the squad that they have now, and I think they'll be better placed if they add another midfielder like a Merino, and I think they'd even be better placed if potentially they add a forward. But they have set out the stall that they do not want to do business unless they can bring in money for some of the surplus talent in their squad. It's not a space problem, it's not a money problem, it is just a reality of where Arsenal are at and a reality of where they see the market right now. And I have to respect that view, because we've seen what happens when you do what Chelsea do and just spend for the sake of spending. Arsenal aren't there. And if you want Chelsea to be, the idolization of your transfer business for Arsenal, feel free to switch, because I am not keen on swapping Arsenal's transfer business for Chelsea's. Arsenal have been far more shrewd, far more strategic, and therefore far more successful in the last couple of seasons in getting Arsenal established in the elite competitions and competing for those big honours. So that's where we're at right now, and that's what we're doing. But we'll see if there are any updates, and you can be sure that we will bring you updates on this as soon as they become available. But right now, available to you is the best VPN service on the market, and that is NordVPN, of course, which does provide you the superpower of changing your geolocation on your laptop, on your mobile, or on your mobile. Well, I said mobile, didn't I? tablet, mobile, laptop. That's the one that I'm missing. Or indeed your laptop, of course, as well. You can get a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with the service for whatever reason. But by going to nordvpn.com/Gooner, you can get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or a 2-year plan. Not only that, but of course, a VPN is a absolute must in 2024. You need to keep your data safe. You need to keep yourself safe. You need to make sure that you're in a perfect position to be able to surf the net confidently and securely. And not only that, but you can secure yourself an amazing piece of Arsenal memorabilia as well by winning a signed and framed Martin Odegaard Arsenal shirt. Not only that, by going to Football Prizes link down in the description, you can potentially, just by entering this competition, get your hands on some other really cool prizes. A signed Nicholas Anelka Arsenal shirt, a signed Dennis Bergkamp Arsenal shirt, and a signed Gabriel Martinelli Arsenal shirt as well as plenty of Football Prizes site credit and more. Very interesting prizes indeed. All the links for our today's sponsors are down in today's video description, and I recommend that you go and have a look at them. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions very quickly right after this. Okay, this is part 2 of the show where, of course, that we tackle your questions. But as I did say at the beginning of the show, it is going to be a shorter part because I am headed off to the office and I need to make sure I don't miss my train. So do forgive the short episode. But if you still want to catch some more Arsenal live fun and goodness, I'm going to be sending you somewhere where you can indeed get that. Tony says Ornstein didn't say Arsenal need to sell before they can buy Merino. What he actually said was, by the way, I didn't say that. What he actually said was likely needs an exit from Arsenal, whether before or after. Knocked said as much months ago. And as I said before, this is the case. As I explained, it's not about Arsenal needing to sell at all. Arsenal don't need to sell in order to buy, but their decision, their strategy is what they are looking to do this summer, whereby they are offset their buys with sales so that they can potentially, when they want to move and they see an opportunity in the market that is much better, and that might happen in January, I doubt it, but more so next summer, that they are very free and able to do that. And it's a very smart way of doing business. And they also want to improve their sales reputation this summer. They do not want to be in a position where they're not making good money for players. And it could be that we're going to be in a very, very good position indeed to make some really good deals in the future. Danny says, hey, Tom, not Arsenal related, but would you be interested to know your predictions for who you think will be promoted to the Premier League next season? Danny, I have absolutely no idea. I'm really sorry. I'd imagine that, you'll probably see your relegated Premier League teams once again come back up. Burnley, I'd imagine, will be in the mix. Maybe we'll see some other sides come good. Leeds might have another good season again, but they are potentially losing one of their key players in Rutter to Brighton. And again, 22-year-old Rutter scored, I think, 6 goals in 30-plus championship games last season, potentially going for £40 million from the championship to Brighton. And again, that showcases why Arsenal are being so stringent on their price and valuation of Eddie Nketiah. Again, more good context for that Arsenal argument there. Domenico says, Tom, I see that you're sporting the new keeper jersey. Very nice. How does it feel? Feels good, mate. It was a black Arsenal shirt, so there was no prizes for guessing that I was going to go and buy it. Stephen, who's been a member now for 15 months, thank you for your kind support, mate, says, hola, Tom. Any thoughts on Oscar Bobb's injury and how that may impact City and our chances of winning? I do think that, we're ultimately in a very open scenario with this for City. I think that he will, or rather City will, look to spend to replace now. I think obviously they lost Julian Alvarez. They've now lost Oscar Bobb potentially for a long period of time. Months he could be out. So I'd be surprised if they didn't now enter the market, especially because they lost Alvarez. Savinho has come in, of course, but I think that they might now move for a player. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Pep said that they wouldn't, but maybe this has changed things. You gangsters, typical Arsenal, promise big for the future and play down today's opportunities, not raging, but I've seen the same cycle before with Arsenal. I mean, you've seen it before maybe years and years ago, but you've not seen it recently with Arsenal at all, because Arsenal have spent and spent and spent and spent under Mikel Arteta. And as a result, because of their really good spending, what they've done is they've managed to push themselves into a bracket of clubs that perhaps yourself and other critics didn't think that they would do under Mikel Arteta. So I don't know about that same cycle, because it's certainly not been present in Arsenal recently. Arsenal's cycle has only seen them head towards a Premier League title, which is where they are aiming for again this season. Jeremiah says, who's from LA and loves the show. Thank you, mate. My question is, in your earnest of hearts, if you can get Gyökeres for 65 to 75, do you not see that pushing us over the edge with Oscar Bob out for City? I think they will buy. Will Gyökeres take Arsenal over the line? Who knows? I would be inclined to think it would improve our chances, but there is no guarantee because it is a risk. It's not a Declan Rice type signing. It's not a player that I have absolute assurance that I know that the impact of a player like Rice is going to be massive. You don't have that same assurance with a player like Gyökeres. There's an argument that he doesn't necessarily even start for Arsenal if he comes in at the moment over Havertz right now. So, and people might say, what are you talking about? He scored like loads of goals last season. Yeah, he scored loads of goals last season in a different league for a different club. And Havertz had an excellent second half of last season that had he been in that position all season, who knows what might have happened. And going into this season, starting off as our centre forward, I'm definitely challenging Havertz to hit 20 plus goals this campaign. And I think pretty much everybody else should too. So there's a chance it could push you over the line, but you're then committing yourself to that position in particular. Sam says, Tom, does what you say on your channel have any effect on your job? Can you say what you think, or do you have to tread carefully only on things that you might know or the way that you say it? I don't think I've ever had to change the way I talk about football since when I was a teacher and now. I've never felt that way. I've never felt pressured in any way to say certain things or to do certain things. I know I can criticize Arsenal, and I do, and it's not going to affect my job. People like to use that as some kind of explanation. Sometimes it's a really lazy way of criticizing kind of my view. They think that if I say that Eddie Nketiah is not good enough for Arsenal and we should sell him, he's not going to speak to me in a mix zone. It's not happened. I've said that and have still had interviews with Eddie Nketiah since saying that, because it's an opinion and it's a critical opinion and a constructive view of Arsenal. It's part and parcel of the job. So, Sam, despite what some people may say to you, absolutely never have I ever felt any pressure to say or not say anything on Arsenal. If I think Arsenal should sack the manager, I'll say it. If I think Edu is not doing a good enough job, I'll say it. The thing is, I don't think either of those two things, so I don't need to say it. People like to use it inaccurately, kind of disrespectfully, but they're very, very wrong. Very, very wrong indeed. And I always offer the opportunity, of course, for people to come on the show and challenge my point of view. And when they do, the ones that have been great. The ones that don't tend not to, because they know that their views probably won't stand up to much scrutiny. Couple more minutes and then we're going to have to wrap up. Shane says, I'm curious to know, do people believe our current players can't improve from one year to the next? I mean, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, all we've done is improve 1 year to the next. So surely that would be the way forwards. Corey says, Tom, what is the ultimate goal with your writing job? It's a pretty awesome job writing about your favourite team. It's just to carry on, Corey. I haven't got any kind of like grandeur goals. If you work for Arsenal, it's obviously very different. Working for Arsenal would mean that you wouldn't, because imagine that you work for a company and then you go out there and criticize them. You wouldn't be able to do that. So I don't think I'd never be able to do the channel if I worked for Arsenal, because if you work for Arsenal, how could you ever be really critical of them? You couldn't. It wouldn't make really any sense, because you'd be criticizing your employer. So the ambition is to be a journalist. The ambition is to be a presenter. The ambition is to do this, and to continue improving and growing and getting better at what I do. And, that's not going to come by any association with Arsenal directly at all. So, it's definitely an ambition to continue to grow and improve and get better at what I'm doing. And who knows, that 100K ambition to try and grow a channel in the way that we've grown it and the way that we do it here, without the shouting and screaming and abuse that you see elsewhere, is always going to be an ambition of mine. And let's see if we can do it. Charles Watts has managed it, and I hope to follow in someone like his footsteps as well. I think it'd be great. We are going to have to end the show there, because I do have to go and catch a train. Thank you so much to all of you for listening. You have a job before I go. And I really want to see the power and the volume of this community and how special it can be. Please do drop a like before you leave. It's not that. In today's video description, and I'm also going to leave a link to this now in the StreamYard chat so you see it, the YouTube link I've put in there, please click it now. please go over to Mike from the Gooners Pod's Podathon. He's doing a 24-hour live show talking to loads of familiar faces and guests that you recognize, some former players, some fantastic, brilliant podcasters. I was on there before the 8 o'clock show. I want to do a TGT raid. So head over to that show, hashtag TGT in their chat box or just anything to do with TGT. Get as many people in that chat box as we can right at this very moment. If you're listening on catch up, make sure you head over at a later point in the day and do the exact same thing. Go over to the Gooners Pod, go and watch their live show. You can raise money for charity. You can win some fantastic prizes. Go click that link. Go to the link in the description. Click the link I'm putting into the chat box. Go over to those guys and let's show how brilliant our TGT community really is. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.